Well, welcome back at the Nevada County Media's stream event. I'm your host for this segment, Kimberly Ewing, and I'm here now with Viv Tipton. She is the executive director of Hospice of the Foothills. Welcome, Viv.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. It's wonderful to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. And I mean, Hospice of the Foothills, such an important role with our community of people that are getting to a place where nobody wants to talk about, but are at the point of passing. Such an important time of our lives, tender,
Yes.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
but really important.
Really important and really rich. The end of life, as we go into our end of life, it is often a time of reflection.
Yeah.
The stuff that doesn't matter so much seems to slough off. But our hesitancy to, I don't know, even admit that we might die one day leads us down a different path. And often we miss a lot of the richness at that time that process has to offer. And that's what Hospice of the Foothills is phenomenal at, is wrapping a family or a family of loved ones, any family, and finding out what's important to that family and helping them attain that.
And I mean, what a gift, because nobody has a manual about this time of our lives. And maybe, like we were talking off the air about ailing parents and what do we do? What do we do to not, take their dignity away, but also provide services? It's such a delicate time, and it's never been done before in my life. It's
Exactly.
rough.
Or when you do, some folks end up cast into it without the education, without the empowerment of, oh, I can keep my loved one at home. I can learn how to care for them. And that's what hospices across the nation are great at, and what Hospice of the Foothills is phenomenal at doing in this community. Not too long ago, we had a family on, and the father, the husband of the woman who was on our service, called me and he said, Viv, I don't think we're going to be able to do this at home. And then our nurse went out, and through her working with the family, she was able to pass without pain, with dignity, at home, surrounded by her family. And that was the number one thing that he said to me. Thank you for that. It is education, and there is always somebody there to answer the phone, respond to an email, for even if you don't know that your loved one's ready for hospice or meets, because it's typically a 6-month terminal diagnosis.
Sure.
But there's also a palliative care program. There's help. There's help to answer those questions, and sometimes just to listen.
And tell me that program again, because we were talking about it off the air.
Sierra Community Palliative Care is an offshoot, if you will, of Hospice of the Foothills that we created in partnership with our community physicians and agencies to ensure that there's palliative care for patients. Maybe they're uncomfortable with hospice, maybe they're not ready yet, but they have a chronic condition that requires symptom management, and that's what we excel at.
Symptom management. So an example of that would be?
So I would say for folks who have COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, the nurses in my life will be so proud of me for knowing that. COPD, which is really shortness of breath.
Right.
There is not a cure for that. There's things you can do to manage the shortness of breath, the pain, the inability to walk long distances. So in both palliative and in hospice care, what we do is we look and we talk with the family and determine what's important to them, because that's different. For some
sure.
folks, it's to make it to the graduation. For some folks, it's to make it to a wedding. For other people, it's to go fishing. For others, it's pain management, physical pain management. It's talking to a son that left 20 years ago to go to Germany. We find out what that is, and we make that happen for them.
How wonderful. How long have you been the Hospice of the Foothills ED?
I've been the executive director for 6.5 years.
Wow.
I will be retiring at the end of May.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. But like all things Hospice of the Foothills, we have an incredible board, and they have done a fabulous job of selecting the next executive director who's going to carry on. What we do is basically care and love We find out what type of love folks need and we give it to them.
So important. And when I think about it too, carrying the torch to the next executive director, what during these 6.5 years has kept you going and kept you going every day? Because it's hard. I mean, it's got to be emotional.
It's very hard. What keeps me going, I'm going to get a little misty. Every day what we do matters. There's not one action that we take that we don't have the families of this community at the center of the table. And I know it matters. We make a difference in lives. And nothing's too hard.
Right. Yeah. And you're not alone either. That's what I think is important too, is we're all going through it at different parts of our lives. And we all have that human experience.
Right. And it's incredible. This community, to be able to do this work in this community, surrounded by so many incredible community partners and nurses, social workers, chaplains, aides, a host of volunteers. We have 210 volunteers. It's amazing, the community that comes together.
Well, and that's the one thing I want to make sure, if someone was interested or just so moved by what we're talking about, if they wanted to volunteer, or like you said, these educational programs that are out there that you offer at Hospice of the Foothills, where could they go?
www.hofo.org.
Okay.
That is the best. Our website has it all. The main number, 274-5739. I think that's wrong, actually. So go to the website or look it up and call, ask for Viv. There's nothing I like better than talking about the incredible agency we have, and I'll get you connected to the right person.
And we so applaud you for all your service and work now that you're going to be heading out and passing the baton.
Yes.
Viv from Hospice of the Foothills?
Of the Foothills.
Hospice of the Foothills, thank you so much. And we'll be back with our next guest. Stay tuned.
Hi, I live in a state of hopefulness. Not because life is easy, smooth, or without pain that at times has felt unbearable, but because life has shown me that hope hides in the darkest of corners. Life has also shown me time and time again that hope is constant. Spring comes, the bud opens, we see and get to feel the love that surrounds us all in this amazing community. Hope is always present. Sometimes we just need to look a little closer.